Hi friends, hi families. As usual, I'm looking fabulous. Um, you have to forgive me. I have a raging headache and some arm pain, but I haven't recorded a video in quite some time, so I felt the need with the end of the month, Mental Health Awareness Month, being today, now that it's after midnight, almost 1 o'clock in the morning, to at least get one of our family stories out there. I said that we'd be using the YouTube channel to educate and advocate about reactive attachment disorder and the yet to be added to the DSM, developmental trauma disorder, which is like a parent umbrella that covers a lot of the different diagnoses, the ABC alphabet soup, as we parents like to call it. But I did say that I'd be sharing stories anonymously, so I'll be changing names, dates, locations, things like that to keep them as anonymous as possible. Just think about that. True real life stories, and to be shared, they have to be shared anonymously. That's the fear our families live in. Um, yeah, I'm still working on that word. I apologize for that. But yeah, the fear of retaliation from Department of Children's Services, Department of Social Services, Department of Health and Human Services, whatever it's called in whatever county and whatever state, which really is one of the biggest issues we have in this country, is that it's not a federally run program, so there's zero oversight. The counties in the same states don't even follow the same policies, protocols, etc. Federal bonuses placed on the heads of children that get placed into permanent homes. Hence the reasons why they lie about the backgrounds, the diagnoses, etc. They try to convince prospective adoptive parents that if you just sign that dotted line and finalize the adoption, that the children will start to feel safe and secure, and if you just love them enough, all those behaviors are going to go away. So instead of actually trying to fix the problem, instead of actually trying to get the proper treatment for families and their children, they decide that, we'll sweep it under the rug, get the paper signed, walk away, wash our hands with it. And if the family makes too much of a stink, we'll actually turn them into DCS, turn them into ourselves, do an investigation on them, threaten them, scare them, tell that person definitely not to try and advocate for that child again. So it's this vicious circle, this vicious cycle that we just keep seeing happen over and over and over again. Raising Devon, a wonderful blog about a woman who adopted and has a child with severe RAD. She asked a question yesterday, like, what was the most outrageous lie your RAD had ever told? And I found it so enjoyable that I actually begged her to make it a bingo game, because every single one that everyone was saying, like, someone else had an example of being told the same lie at that point, at some point in time. RAD children lying as they breathe. It's just so natural to them. It's definitely part of their core, something that we as parents try to fix. But without getting them the proper treatment, it's just not feasible. But anyway, I'm going to start with our first share. Going to be reading it from a piece of paper, so forgive me if I'm looking down and away from the camera. That's my puppy dog. That's one. There's another one snuggled up over there. Just sleeping. Anyway. Okay. Our now adopted 5-year-old son came to us at the age of 2 years and 1 month. He only spoke 3 words: was extremely afraid of everyone and everything, had very high anxiety, and huge developmental delays across the board, so much so that he was believed to be autistic. We were his seventh home, where he came from a history of neglect, physical and mental abuse over and over again. He was up for adoption from the moment he walked through our door, having been turned away from 3 previous adoptions due to his trauma and behavior issues. From the day he walked in our door, we have fought for him to be evaluated by a neurodevelopmental pediatrician or psychiatrist. Every time it was brought up, we were told that he just needed to warm up to our family and things would be different. We put all our love and time into our child, and behaviors began to get worse instead of better, to the point where he was physically attacking me on a daily basis. And this seemed to get worse after every doctor's appointment. I had to make a crisis call for performed care after 3 weeks of the abuse because I could just not continue with this behavior. He was evaluated, and due to him being in foster care, they decided to give him a behavior therapist and a family play therapist for 12 weeks. We saw a slight improvement, but it was not by any means the answer we were looking for. Once those services ended, I had to fight for 2 months to get them to cover the cost of an LCSW to get any type of therapy put into place. He saw the therapist once a week for 3 months, and it did seem to help a little because he knew he was being watched, so he could not let his behaviors get totally out of control. Shortly after the 3 months, our son was adopted, and all services ended. We are lucky enough to continue to have insurance services through our state. However, even with Medicaid as a backup, it is extremely difficult to get any form of mental health services for our son. Just to let you know, children that are adopted through foster care get to retain their Medicaid. So extremely difficult to get any form of mental health services for our son. Due to this, we have chosen to go the medical route to get as much help as we possibly can. We have been evaluated through the International Adoption Team, seen 1 neurodevelopmental pediatrician, and now 1 neurodevelopmental pediatrician through a specialized hospital, and so many evaluations that I have lost track. I have him on every children's mental health service waiting list in the central part of our state, as well as another city and state, in which I am always told they do not offer services for my son's age, and not until 8 years old should we recontact them, and do not expect Medicaid, being as the health insurance offered does not include mental health services. Just an FYI, we're all told that if our the best treatment and proper treatment for reactive attachment disorder is early intervention, intervening as soon as possible to rebuild that trust and regain or create an attachment bond with the child. But when you try to do that, when you notice these things at 3, 4, 5, 6, everybody tells you they can't help you because nobody treats children that young. So you're told to get early intervention, but nobody will give it to you. Just a little side note. We referred to the only children's trauma specialist in our area, but cannot put him in the program because it is not covered, and we just cannot cover the cost of $175 for a 1-hour visit, which he would require at least 3 a week to start for a few weeks and then have to be reevaluated in the future. Luckily, over the past few months, I have started reaching out to a few local foster moms that are having the same issues with their children and was introduced to a great doctor. After speaking with her for 3 hours on exactly what it was like to live with my son and his behaviors, and how we are willing to do whatever we can to help him, she finally decided that it was time to tackle each of his issues medically, being as therapy does not seem to be an option at this point. She prescribed Prozac for his high anxiety. He has been on it for 2 months, and we have seen a big difference in behaviors and focus. He was just evaluated last week and diagnosed with ADHD and has begun taking Tenex to treat that. He also has had 4 genetic tests, which we are awaiting results for. Now, I do know and fully understand that my son may not truly have ADHD, and it very well can be trauma-based as a reason that he has these behaviors. But if the only thing I can do at this point is to treat each issue that he's experiencing because therapy is not available, that is what I will have to do. I cannot sit back and watch my child suffer for another 3 years before he can possibly get some form of therapy to help with his rad. I took everybody's names off these stories because I didn't want to make any mistakes, so I don't know which one of my families wrote this one, but you're not even going to get help in 3 years. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. He has been part of my family now for almost 3 years, and he has not been calm and behavior controlled at all up until the last 2 weeks. I cannot tell you as a mother, how wonderful it is to see your child truly smile with happiness for the first time, and to know it's not just a manipulative smile he's putting on because he can't really feel happy. Today I saw it in my son, and I know I am doing the right thing for my child. I will not stop helping my son get whatever help he may have access to. Does that mean that it is the correct or right help? No, not at all. But my son will be the one to suffer for that. I will not allow. He currently has the following diagnoses: RAD, reactive attachment disorder, severe developmental delays, speech delays, cognitive delays, ADHD, and FAS. ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and FAS, fetal alcohol syndrome. I'm sure in the end this list will get so much longer, but we will continue to do what we need to help our child. The rest is just for me. So that's just story number 1 that I'm sharing. I have over 800 families, so there'll be so many more stories to come, but they'll basically all say the same thing. You're told to get them treatment, you told them to get it as early as possible, then you're told that you can't get it for them that young, and you're usually told that, no one in your state treats reactive attachment disorder, but you can't get them into a place out of state. So let that sink in. At some point, someone is going to hear everything I have to say and care. We have thousands of families who have opened up their hearts and their homes to children they love desperately, and all they want to do is get them proper help. Thank you. Good night.